Hey guys, what's going on? It's Andrew coming at you. I'm going to move this mic a little bit closer here because this is more going to be a podcast type of environment. I wanted to try something different this week because I kind of hit a wall with my creative process and I got a little bit down. Sometimes when I get a little down, I can lose time because I'm so focused on things that I'm stressed about, and that's never a good thing. But I'm happy to say that I'm pulling out of that funk. But one thing I never wanted to do is create content for the sake of creating content or feeling trapped and feeling I have to create content. So I wanted to try something in a podcast format just one time. And I don't expect a lot of people to watch this. First of all, maybe if this gets 400 or 500 views, I'm going to be super happy about that. But I wanted to talk about some things happening in the world. So I wanted to first talk about the war in Ukraine and the Russian mobilization. First, I think that this mobilization, even though Russia says it's only going to be a couple 100,000 people, I fear that this might actually be the real full-scale mobilization, and that they're going to really try to mobilize up to 1 million people, and that I'm not so worried about what Russia can do logistically, but if they're going to throw a lot of numbers at this problem, they could definitely do some damage. And we can say, okay, Russia can't do anything at all, but you cannot take it past Russia when it comes to throwing numbers at a problem. If you just look at Russia through World War II history, the fact that they lost the most amount of people during the war defending themselves, that they didn't have, every troop wasn't fully supplied. This is a part of Russian history. So yes, it is definitely an escalation to the war. And with that said, people have asked me what my thoughts were on NordStream. And when NordStream happened, I was quite concerned about it because it felt like the assassination of the Archduke Ferdinand in World War I. I feel like world wars have started from less, and my fear was this could really trigger some type of world war response. Maybe not right away, right? But what it does is it severs the relationship between Europe and Russia. And I started to think about who could be responsible for this. And the craziest thing was that there were so many people on TikTok and YouTube, these bot accounts, and I swear bot accounts, I go and I check, and definitely Russian bots, they were blaming the United States right away. They found this clip of Biden talking, and I found it to be very interesting because, just a couple hours after Nord Stream had been bombed underwater, these videos were already circulating, which made me feel that it could be most likely Russia, just because it seemed premeditated. They already had a way to talk about it. But the thing was, I kept thinking, why would Russia do this to itself? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense unless they just want to threaten the rest of Europe and say, listen, we're going to start doing attacks outside of here. Maybe the internet's next. So I guess it's definitely a possibility. Some people said it could be Ukraine, but I just think they're too busy fighting a war. And maybe it's some wild country we're not even thinking of China or Turkey that stands something to gain from this. But I don't believe it's the United States because I feel like the U.S. has already kind of won. Europe's really close with the U.S. right now. And the United States is already going to benefit off of natural gas, so they're already going to win no matter what. Europe's going to move to them, so they don't really have much of an incentive to shut this off unless they were afraid that Germany was going to buckle. And, I got to tell you that it's crazy times we live in because I feel like we're so close to nuclear war. I still think that maybe we were closer during the Cuban Missile Crisis just because it was Russian warship against American Navy ship, and there were actually depth charges thrown, and the submarine that was under the water when everything was going on in the Cuban Missile Crisis that was Russian. They didn't know that we hadn't been that it wasn't World War I yet. World War III. They didn't know that they were being attacked because what happened was they thought they were being attacked. They didn't know that there were depth charges that were dropped. The United States against Russia, and at the time you had 3 people on the ship that were captains of the Russian submarine, and they had to all decide to be able to fire nuclear weapons. And one guy disagreed out of the 3 that was there, and 2 wanted to do it. And this person actually saved us from nuclear war, nuclear annihilation. So I do think we were closer then. But the difference between then and now is that everything continues to keep escalating. And now you have Russia that has just annexed the regions of Ukraine, and no one's going to recognize the annexation, but Russia says that they're going to treat it like it's Russia, which would then possibly mean they could use a tactical nuclear weapon. And it's crazy because the Western media tells us, hey, he would never use it, but then also Putin's crazy at the same time. And it's which is it? Is he a crazy or a madman, or is he not? Because you're saying that he is. I don't know about that one. I think if he uses nukes, it kind of hurts the whole, hey, we're doing a great job in the war and everything's okay type of situation. So I do think he would really risk a revolt. But, the Russian people, they just seem to be able to withstand so much hardship that I'm getting frustrated that they're not actually like protesting more. And again, I'm American, so I have the ability to be able to protest and talk about my government without the same fears that maybe someone Russian does. But at a certain point, somebody there needs to do something because that's putting the whole world in jeopardy. And that doesn't mean the United States is innocent in this. The U.S. should have never flirted the idea of Ukraine joining NATO. It was never going to happen. It was always a red line to Russia. It was always a no-go zone. And we knew that. And we pushed things further. And I have no doubt that we were involved a little bit in 2014 when the uprising was happening. It's supporting those people. And there's a lot of things that led to it. But obviously, there's no excuse for what Russia is doing right now. And it's just, it's a tense time, and it's really messing with the economy in the worst of ways, which I think was one of the reasons I was bummed out, is because the Swedish currency has hit its lowest point ever last week to the dollar, and it is not fun being an American abroad right now with the dollar, especially when you have student loans. My spending power really, really dropped, and that's not fun at all. And it's just... I can't withstand or survive it forever, and it needs to go back up. And it's scary to me because is the economy in Europe really going to get better when the energy crisis hits the worst in, the winter? I don't think so, because the issue is if we do not have enough energy and everybody's just trying to heat their homes, what if they shut down factories? That's just going to cause such a big catastrophe. And the problem with the dollar being so strong is it hurts the U.S. economy because all of our companies that have foreign offices, like they got to pay people as well. And if the other currencies aren't worth the money anymore, that's like a loss of profit for everybody. It just, the whole system does not work when the dollar gets this strong. So it's just having a negative impact everywhere. It wouldn't matter what country I was in outside of the United States really at this point. So, and even if I was in the US and making more money, my stocks and portfolios and everything would just be going down. So strange time right now. Hopefully the Swedish krona, looks like it's going back up this week. It can't just keep going down. That's what I keep hoping and telling myself. But definitely a couple rough weeks to be sending money to the United States. And it's just crazy how quickly things can change. But as everybody says, the economy will eventually turn around. Things will hopefully get better. So, and this week I didn't even talk about Hurricane Ian, I guess, just blowing through Florida. And then, it's interesting that what's happening there, is this somehow linked to climate change, that we're getting these hurricanes that are more powerful than before? I would say yes, but there are people that still disagree with that. So yeah, anyways, that's pretty much everything that's on my mind for this week and this first podcast episode. Is there anything in particular you want me to talk about in the following podcast episode? I would be happy to do that. Please give me feedback on this. If you thought that I bounced around topics too much, let me know. If you have any suggestions of things that you would actually be interested in me discussing, give me that feedback, and I will see you guys in the next podcast. All right? Hej då.